Hello, guys and gals. Welcome back to Custom World Live. It's Adrian Sellers here from the UK. And this week, on episode 6, we've got Thrive Motorcycle from Indonesia. I've got Erlangga here from Thrive, who's joining me to walk us through his TXX build on the Royal Enfield Interceptor. Thanks for joining us, Erlangga.
Hi, hello.
Oh, we've got him frozen. Erlangga, you there, buddy?
Hello, hello. Hello.
Hey, we've got your video feed a little bit frozen right now. Can you refresh? Sure. Okay, guys, we got a little technical glitch here with Erlangga. So I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. We're here to talk about this build based on the Interceptor 650. This was one of the first builds that we had done based on the platform. And as part of our launch year, I think I mentioned this before, but we commissioned 6 builds around the world in 3 different geographies. And one of those was in Indonesia with Thrive Motorcycle. They've been building for quite a while now, all sorts of different styles, but with a very strong focus on craftsmanship, on metal, and just really bringing the details of the build out. This is very much in line with a lot of Indonesian builds, where you're seeing just exemplary levels of metalworking, leatherworking, a real craft brought into the build, often one-off bespoke parts and so on. So in some ways, also not so different from what Bandit 9 does. Remember, we talked with last week. The guys at Thrive are a pretty close-knit group, rather than one person, who is often the case in the custom building world. We've got a crew here, a bunch of guys who sort of came up and decided they wanted to do this together, and have been getting into it, and with quite a bit of success. They've opened retail stores and are now going to the next level with their process and everything. So, of course, now they're having a little trouble, like everybody, in lockdown with the COVID situation. But hopefully this will be over for them soon. And looks like we've got Erlangga back now, so we'll bring him online. And there we go. You there, buddy?
Hello, man. Could you hear me?
Awesome, man. Thank you for joining us. So we're just talking a little bit about where Thrive came from, how you guys got started, and
Right.
give us a little walkthrough on what makes Thrive thrive.
Okay. Thank you, Adrian, for inviting this conversation. So maybe for the first thing first, we will introduce you for the Thrive Motorcycle Workshop. Motorcycle is the workshop where placed Jakarta, Indonesia. We've established around 2012, I believe, and then we're quite a bit different from the other workshop because we have quite a different background for the like any other workshop. So basically, we are having the creative industry for the background. So there's a lot of us having a background in the graphic designer or in a branding or on the photographer and everything else. So there are 5 founders for us, and then the first is Dimas. He is the brand, having the brand, and then we have Barata for the builder, me for the operational, and then we have Indra in design, and then we have Putra in marketing, and we have Andrew in our managing partner. So that makes five of the founder doesn't have any background on the motorcycle of or engineering background. So that's quite interesting maybe. And then I will let you know like the first time we doesn't have any skill at all, even though it's for welding or metal shaping or anything else. This is just we have the guts to uh, having our workshop that can deliver our expectation for the bike. That's the idea, and then that's the starting point for us. Because in 2012 in Indonesia, is the custom industry is not too well recognized. So the thing is like we're already seeing the bike from overseas, like in a website or something, but there's nothing can deliver the in Indonesia. There's no one can deliver our expectation like that in terms of the building process or the quality, or maybe for the presentation, like a photograph or the video or something that's not having our expectation. So we think it's like a why we're not having by ourselves, and then we're starting like 2012, and then yep, we here ever since, Adrian.
So what made you guys decide to step away from your careers and get into custom bike building? What was the inspiration for that, or
Yes.
what made you
Well,
take the leap?
at first is we already getting bored with our industry in here. We fed up taking client orders and then making revision after revision, etc. And then uh, five of us is like riding a motorcycle for sure. And then uh, and then we thought it's like a well, if no one do it what we do, why not we are doing by ourselves? So it's the basic idea is how to bring the what you call it the design thinking process into the metal shaping workshop, and it's never having done before in Indonesia. So the idea is how to elevate the level of the quality of the idea, because uh, in the previous time in Indonesia, it's more like into not a customer builder relationship. It's more like into like a working order, if you like. So it's people just bring the picture to the builder, and then hey, I want to build something like this, exactly like from the picture. He have the reference, something like those. It's like the builder is never can explain or having the idea that could bring the build better. That's the idea at first. So and then we try to having some kind of system in track motorcycle. Um, the thing is like we have like a quotation system, the questionnaire system, or we try to capture the essential idea of the customer, what is he really wants, not what the bike he wants, but I try to dig up more. It's like
Hmm.
what kind of watch you like, or what kind of what inspire him the most for his life, so we can deliver it into the bike. That's the idea.
Yeah, I remember getting that questionnaire as we got into the build here. It was a very unique
Yep.
approach, and it's somehow also
Yep.
reassuring to know that you guys are both thinking artistically, but also thinking artistically within the with an understanding of your client as well. So there's a
Yep.
really wonderful combination of both creative freedom, but also conscientious creative freedom there. So you're not just going
Yes.
off and doing whatever. You're doing something that is aimed at the client,
Yes.
which is really cool.
The
Obviously,
idea the idea, Adrian, is like we always try to communicate with the client is that you're building the custom bike. This is the one off for you. So why you will build something that already exists? That's always the bigger question. So if we want to build you the bike, we will make sure that this is never done before, and then it will match your personality well. That's the main idea. Like example for the picture here, we have this is our build in 2015, I believe so. This is the based from the small CC Yamaha. So this is the Yamaha Scorpio 225. So this is really a common bike in Jakarta, Indonesia, because in Indonesia it's quite hard to find a bigger bike because we have a strict policy in here about the limitation of the cylinder and etc. etc. So it's considering like the premium stuff something. So there's a lot of people just having like this kind of bike. So the idea, if I can tell you about the bike, is the bike is quite unique because the owner or the client is also a designer, and then he believes us is like a hey, I want to build a bike in tri motorcycle, but I leave all the direction to you. But I only have the Yamaha Scorpio 225. Would you do it? And then we say yes, of course. And then uh, he's so inspired with the Bauhaus design, and then he inspired with the Range Rover design, some kind of the square and a boxy design, something like those. So and then we putting also the idea is like he really liked the Japanese tokusatsu, like Kamen Rider something kind of style. So we try to implement the style in those bikes, and then we built everything with the aluminum, and then it turned out the bike uh, came out pretty witty design, what we call it. So after we released the bike, and then the review is really diverse. You know, it's like there's the people that really like the design, and then there's the people that doesn't like it at all, and then it's making arguable, and then that's make the design interesting because the good design always make a conversation. That's the idea,
yeah.
and then uh, the bike is getting review with the in the motorcycle website, although and then it will getting review also with the design blog, and then so it's become popular not because this is the motorcycle, but in a term of design process that really inspiring people. That's
Well,
the
we saw
story of
that
the bike.
recognized as well. We saw that recognized as well at the previous shot here at the museum. I
Yeah.
think it's those at the
Yep.
Peters.
Yeah. And then this
So
is
that was obviously there's some success there in creating a rolling work of art.
right. And then the surprise element is when we invited to the Peterson Museum. They held the first custom motorcycle exhibition in the California, and then they choose 18 motorcycles. They think it changed the game. Not they think it's like there's a one time after 2010 the motorcycle bring a new era. Some kind of like it's entering the world of art, or you can say like a fine art or something. So it's not like the horseback, something like those, but more into the craftsmanship or something. And then they invited like a 18 builder from around the world, from Japan, Europe, USA, and then and from Indonesia, we have this bike. And then in there, we have like Vincent Black Shadow or Alta motorcycle, the most exquisite motorcycle we can see, but this bike, the Yamaha small engine Yamaha 225cc can make there. So the idea is like when it's already hanging there, they doesn't see it as like a this is the small cc or a big bike or this is the exotic bike. They just see this is the craftsmanship and the art piece that could make into the exhibition. That's the interesting part.
Well, I
Yep.
think that's a really good message. It's an interesting message, I think, for uh, aspiring builders to hear, and that it really doesn't matter what your base is, what you start with. It's really
Yes.
the drive and the vision behind it that will make it successful or
Yep.
not, or make you successful or not as a custom builder.
Yep. Yep. That's quite interesting.
So getting onto
Ah.
the TXX, the T20.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I mean, we started with the Interceptor here. Gave you, I think, some constraints because it was the launch year, and so we didn't want to go too crazy. Wanted to keep some
Yep.
reference to the original motorcycle.
Yep.
But we went through a fun sketching process with you guys.
Yep.
Went pretty quickly. Some interesting ideas. Can you walk us through a little bit how you approach the design process? You mentioned
Yes.
earlier that your guys you divide up the tasks within the company. So
Yep.
how does that help when it comes to time to design a new motorcycle?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Adrian. So I will explain a little bit about the interceptor process, interceptor bike in here. Well, the for sure is this is quite surprising news for us when you call us to having the modified for the Royal Enfield Interceptor because you're contacting us before the bike is having release date or people doesn't see the actual bike itself. Yes, we already heard the rumor that Royal Enfield will release the twin cylinder, the 650, but we doesn't know what it is and then if it's true or not. But when you call us, and then well, it's quite surprising because uh, we think this time Royal Enfield tried to elevate the game, like before you doing with a single cylinder bike, and it's doing really great for years, and then this is the time it's elevating the game. So when we first see the bike, uh, the idea is always come to the engine itself. So basically, for this build, we try to what you call it, following the flow of the engine to naturally apply it to every detail of the custom part. So we try to grow the design into the engine. So that's the idea because we doesn't want to getting trapped with a classic retro style bike or too futuristic, but we try to capture the DNA of the bike and elaborate with our future vision. So we hope we could find a new form for the bike. That's the idea. How to
Hmm.
design the bodyworks and everything else, focusing on the engine. So after a couple discussion with you, uh, we agree that we try to make it uh, still recognizable with the original bike. So we try to keep the gas tank, the shape of the gas tank is resemblance with the original, even though we built all the bodyworks and everything from zero. So if we could move around the bike, the thing is like we built all the bodyworks with the aluminum. Of course, we changed the suspension system. Uh, the first notice is like we changed it from the twin rear shock into the monoshock. That's for sure. And then we using the monoshock from the Suzuki GSX-R 6000, and then we using the front Cerianni suspension, and then we going with the Kawasaki ZX for the rim. that's the idea to make it like the retro style
Mm.
cruiser. So, but we want to make it a twist in here for the bike. So the thing we made it for the front cowl, and then we having the scrambler exhaust system, uh, and then we move the main headlamp into the side of the bike, not uh, in the regular position. So we move it inside of the engine. So yep, and I think the idea to expose the engine is quite well, it's quite okay in the design.
Thanks
Yep.
for that. Yeah. So when you were looking at that, at the design, at the bike itself, it's neat to see that you took an approach of blending different styles together. You know, a little bit of scrambler, a little bit of roadster, a little bit of modern
Yep.
sport bike in there,
Yep.
because
Yep.
that's a very fresh idea, and it's something that we definitely wanted to present as we were promoting the all new Interceptor, because of course it's got a very retro style to it, but also has very, you know, it's a modern motorcycle, and so putting that
Yep.
out there so strongly and visually with this build was really helpful to us in sort of highlighting a lot of the messages behind
Yep.
the base motorcycle too. Cool.
Yep. The idea is
So
to having the bike is still having the cruiser look. So if you see the handlebar position, and then the foot peg position, and then the riding position itself is still comfortable. So it
yeah,
may the look of the bike is maybe look aggressive, but when you put on the ride on it, it's instantly just like the original normal position. That's the idea of the bike.
brilliant. And so after you're done with that sketching process, how do you go
Yep.
about the actual making of the motorcycle? You know, how do you
Yep.
do you divide that work up
Well,
too?
of course,
Um,
mm, the thing is like for the project like this, well, also we have the tight deadline, so that's the main concern for us, and then that's the challenge because I believe we only done the bike is around 2.5 months. It may sound a long time, but for a build like this, is really for the complicated big build like this is not quite time for the time. That's for sure. So we try to elaborate all the design process like before the bike arrives in Indonesia, because the bike is sent from the UK to Indonesia. Before the bike itself arrives here, we already sorting the parts, we already buying the parts. So we we ask you is like all the exact measurement, how what the length of the swing arm, everything else, etc. So when the bike is came, we already have all the parts, and then we already when we can do the bike instantly. So the things is like the first thing first we done with the bike is converting the twin suspension system into the uh, monoshock, and the monoshock, and that's the quite the basic idea. So we make sure all the suspension and then the swing arm process is there, and then after if it's done, we moving into the bodywork process. But the truly challenge for us is to manufacture the exhaust system, because this is the one of exhaust system we made it, and then it's really hard to having the flow of the band of the exhaust to the quite shape, and then we tried very different method to achieve the loop. So at the end we quite happy with the result, and then we after that we're trying to simplify all the wiring, and then all the lighting and turn signal, everything else. So we try to keep the bike as pure as possible. So the thing is like we try to hide everything, but the function is still there. For example, it's like for the turn signal, the front signal, it's elaborate with the hand the in the handlebar, and then for the rear turn signal, it's elaborate with the stop lamp. So everything is there, but it's hidden somewhere. That's the idea. And then we try to simplify all the control with the motor gadget system. We have the motor gadget tiny for the speedometer, and then the odometer, and then everything, all the information is having there. And then if you know that we almost manufacture and then fabricating all the parts by ourselves. Like the picture you're having here, like the top yoke for the triple three, everything is handmade. Everything is CNC custom made, and then having the the design just for this bike, uh, and then the foot pack also. Basically, every aspect of the bike except the engine is having our touch.
Hmm.
That's the idea.
And so when you're working through the bike like that, obviously you have a pretty clear idea of the design, perhaps more so than most. Um, you're doing a lot of the parts yourself. I remember, seeing that in your workshop.
Yep.
But you also have some parts done by outside suppliers. Is that right?
Sorry.
You have some parts also done by outside suppliers, so the CNC milling or something. And
Yes.
and is
No.
that?
Of course we doesn't.
Sorry, go for it.
Of course we doesn't have the CNC the CNC machine in our workshop. So the thing is like we must produce all the design and then all the 3D, and then we send it to our vendor in here to produce all the CNC parts for this bike. It maybe not look much, but if you try to move on the bike, like the foot pack, and then the triple threes, and then the bar and turn signal, and then everything is CNC handmade. Like you see on the left of the picture is the stop lamp. The stop lamp also functioning for the turn signal also. So that's our trick to make everything more simple. And then the ducktail for the rear section, we adding a little touch in there. So, and then of course the wiring is quite not easy to working with, but that's the I asked you like the first time is this bike will work with the if we modify the electrical system, will the bike is still able to running well? And then you say no problem. We can take out all the speedometers and then the odometers and then all the lighting system and everything else, and then it still can run with no problem. And then it's really for us, because for the modern bike, like if we just, for example, like we just change the turn signal and then the bike it won't start. It happened, right? But for the Interceptor, it's like we can do the heavily modified for the electrical system and then the lighting system, everything else, but the the wiring is still doing fine. So it's really great use for us.
Hmm. And was it difficult to match that existing wiring loom with the new parts? You talked about, obviously, different turn signals, different headlamp,
Yep.
different instruments.
Yep. The
How
thing is
was
like
it to that wiring loom with the new parts you added?
yep. So for your information, we still kept the original wiring harness is there. So the main wiring harness is not touched. We just adding the turn signal, the front headlamp, the standby lamp, and then the stop lamp, uh, connecting with the existing wiring system. And then also we connecting all the what you have the instrument itself, like for the high beam indicator, the odometer, and then the RPM, and everything could connectedly, and then it's done flawlessly. And then so
Well,
because
that's really good.
at the previous in the previous field, we having a lot of problem with the electrical system, especially with the new bike, because they having a lot of complicated the A2 wiring system, etc. They have the
Yeah.
different module system, something like those, that making the rewiring is quite difficult. But with this bike, we doesn't having any issue with that. That's the good news.
Oh, brilliant. So
Yep.
thinking through here and just looking at this sort of partially, or I guess mocked up finish here.
Yep.
I understand today we are actually lucky enough to have the bike with you there in the background.
Yes, this is the bike is
So
here with me.
yeah, so instead of showing some pictures of the bike as we would normally do here, do you think you can
Yep.
give us a little walk around of the bike? Just
Of
maybe
course.
walk us through
Of course.
some of the parts that we've talked about,
Yep.
and yeah,
I
just
think I can show you a little bit with the bike with my phone. So let me try to show you look around of the bike. This is the, if you can see it here, we move the ignition system in here. So the thing is like a, right. Hmm.
cool.
Right. So we have the standby lamp in there, and then we have the main light, the KC highlighter in here. So the bike itself, to having, like I said to you before, this is, we try to having the design to focusing on the twin cylinder engine, because this is the new engine from Royal Enfield, and we want to expose it as much as possible. So all the bodywork here, you see, it's all made with the aluminum, and then the leather sit also, and then we have the small little detail, something like this for the ducktail, and then we integrate it all. We simplify all the gauge and all the switches. So this is the custom made switches we have for the ignition, and then for the headlamp, etc. We have the Brembo system in there, and then here are, we have the really small motor gauges, speedometer, but they can show all the info in here, from the odometer, from the RPM, and then the everything. We have all the information in here. So basically, that's all the design, and then we converted all the. This is the stop lamp in there, and then this is the monoshock conversion. We also modified the chain cover in here, adding a little touch for drive a little bit, but still with the original. And then this is our product in here, the THRP foot pack. And then we're using the Tarozi foot control in there. And then we're adding little touch also, something like this. We try to keep it everything original with adding some hole in there to make it lighter. After all, I think we reduced the bike weight more than 10 kilogram for the bike, and I think it's quite good for the bike, because the bike is now for sure it's really light, Adrian. And then in here we have the front suspension from Cerianni, I believe. And then why we choosing the classic Cerianni fork instead of having the upside down, is because we want to having the retro look, retro vintage retro look in the bike. So we doesn't want to adding something that too modern. So that's why we try to having something like this. It's the brake system is from a Brembo, and then we have the twin caliper in there, and then we manufacture all the detail for the logo itself, and then for the badges, and then of course the twin axle system for the. This is also the custom uh, the custom shield, and then this is flow right away from there. So yeah, basically that's all I can show
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about the forks, I was surprised that you went with the classic and particularly with the Cerianni. But I think that's been absolutely essential to keeping that really nice balance of retro and modern that you have going on in the bike with the
Yep,
very classically detailed forks at the front and then the very modern swing arm at the rear.
yep,
Really has a nice counterpoint together. Um,
yep.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely
that's
loving the
all the
details on the seat as
vertical.
well with
Yep,
the buttons and
and
everything.
then like the handlebar you see, it's quite high, so the riding position
Yeah.
is for sure quite comfortable. And then for the color itself, we really try to find a hard combination for this bike. So it's eventually we choose the teal green and then the champagne for the striping in here. So we already done the the paint job like twice because we doesn't satisfied with the result. But I believe this is the this is the extra color we really want because
Yeah.
the champagne is quite really good, and then the teal green is quite quite good
Yeah,
also.
came
And
out
then
beautifully. I
for the
remember when we presented at Custom Fest and you were unhappy with the way the paint had come out and wanted to make sure that you could take it back to do the proper paint job.
yes, because the
Yeah,
previous paint job is the champagne is look like more goldy, and then it's too shiny for us. And then if you see the bike, is there's no shiny part in it. Is they doesn't have any chrome at all. Everything is
Hmm.
trying to be mute and then trying to be as the combination with the matte and then the satin color, so make it everything is quite balanced. That's the idea.
Yeah, works really well. And something that also helps
Okay.
it stand out are those little details that you mentioned. The little badges on the side panels,
Yep.
the drive logo on the tank. These things just
Yep.
like
This
help
is
it stand
all the
out.
Yep. All the detail is this is everything is customized. Even though this is look like the original cover, this is all aluminum, and then
Hmm.
everything is handmade. Even though the gas tank is handmade, so adding striping quite detail like this with the original chain cover is make me very happy to do it. Something like this.
Well, I
Yep.
mean, that's also the essence of customization is taking what you have and modifying it to be your own as well. So it's really cool for us also, because we design these parts with a certain thing in mind, and it's neat to see somebody take that same thing and just change it a little bit to make it a bit different and matching to the personality of the bike. So really nicely done. So thank you for the walk
I agree
around.
with you.
Uh, really
Right.
appreciate that. I hope everybody's able to get a good view of the bike here. So obviously, and people will see this in a little bit as we show the video.
Right.
But the bike obviously rides. It doesn't just sit there and look pretty. Can you tell us a little about the riding experience? How is it? How was it on the road?
Well, the first thing first, like we try to focus on the sound of the bike because
Hmm.
this is like not any other, right? Because everybody never heard the bike before, I believe.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure it will sound right because what we're afraid of, if we change it too much, maybe it will affect the performance. So we try to make it just as moderate as it are for the sound. So, and then, like I said to you before, we reduce the weight quite pretty much. So the bike is much more lighter because I believe the only steel part is just for the frame. Everything else is converted to aluminum. Even though the swing arm is also aluminum, so I believe it's making a better performance because we
Hmm.
reduce the weight quite quite much. So And when we talk about the riding experience, like we saw, like you say, and then you can see it on the video after this, uh, it's quite pleasurable. It's really nice. Really
Brilliant.
nice.
Before we sign off here, I like to ask every time. So, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to start building custom motorcycles, whether it's in their garage on their bike, or even to start it as you guys did as a business? What's the number one piece of advice that you would give somebody?
Well, I'm always try to saying to all of my friends, and then maybe people out there, and then it's a reminder for us. It's like we're doing this thing at the first time with a passion, and then we doesn't have anything at first time. It's like we just having the idea. So the main thing for me and for us, I guess, is how to keep the idea and keep the spirit, and then keeping the what you believe the most as your core of the business. And then if you could stay and then stand what you believe for what you trust, and then yeah, I think that's the most important thing, because everything can be learned, but just believe that you can do it, and then stay believe what you doing, and then keep what you say. It's like uh, keeping pure, and then believing by yourself. I believe
It's good
that
words to
all can see,
think about.
because yep.
Yeah, thank you. It's a creative vision that seems to have worked out really well for you guys. Obviously,
Right. You saw
seeing
it,
you at
Adrian.
shows around online, in museums.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure, Adrian. Thank you, guys.
Cool. So if everybody else can hang out online, we're going to show you the Thrive video about the TXX build, a really
Right.
wonderful little documentary about the process and the people behind the build and Thrive motorcycle. And next week, please join us again, same place, same time, as we talk with the gentleman behind TNT motorcycles in India. Until then.
Jakarta ini kota yang cepat banget berputar gitu, nggak cuman culture-nya tapi orang-orangnya juga, barang-barangnya juga.
Hidup di Jakarta itu rupanya butuh kemauan yang kuat untuk bertahan hidup.
Menurut gua Jakarta itu tuh kota yang penuh sama kebebasan. Dan di antara kebebasan itu juga yang ngebuat akhirnya ini kota yang penuh dengan ketidakteraturan gitu. Agak chaos sih sebenarnya.
And for most people here in Indonesia, family is always come first.
Thrive itu udah jadi keluarga gua ya. Keluarga kedua gua dari lama banget.
Thrive pada awalnya
itu kebentuk dari pertemanan juga.
Motorcycle is the one thing that really bond us together.
Dan hampir semua aspek yang ada di Jakarta itu berputar lebih cepat daripada kota-kota lain yang ada di Indonesia. Itu kayaknya memberi inspirasi juga ke kita untuk nyari ketenangan di tengah situ.
So kita di Thrive bergabung untuk bisa mewujudkan semua yang ideal yang ada di kepala kita gitu.
Kita sebetulnya 4 dari Thrive ini ketemu di kampus.
Akhirnya terus kita ketemu dan ternyata kita punya passion yang sama.
Main bersama sampai akhirnya motorcycle merekatkan hubungan kami semua di sini.
We just want to build something, but that's the first problem. There's no workshop that can meet our expectation. We talk to ourselves, why doesn't we make the workshop by ourselves?
Disitulah kita mulai kumpul bareng berlima, rembukan bareng. Yaudah yuk kita mulai bikin bengkel aja yuk gitu. Perasaan pertama gue nggak percaya, kayaknya itu bohong deh, kayak itu bukan buat kita deh, kayak ini email palsu mungkin.
Jujur aja pada awalnya kita pasti sangat kaget banget mendapat sebuah order dari UK untuk membuat Royal Enfield.
Menarik ya karena ini motor 6,5 pertama dari RE.
This is the whole new level for Royal Enfield to do something like this. One thing I really like about their bike is like they keep everything simple.
Gampang untuk dimodifikasi gitu.
Wah beneran rupanya ya. Oke deh kalau gitu, ayo kita lanjutin gitu. Habis itu?
You need to make it something really beautiful, but it look like effortlessly beautiful.
Gimana cara motor ini bisa integrasi antara satu parts dengan parts lain?
Well, it's just flows like that. It's like a naturally organic.
Itu adalah gimana caranya lo tahu kalau motor ini udah sampai titik yang cukup sampai situ gitu. Satu titik yang tepat gitu.
But for this build, this special build, everyone go downstairs and then make their hands dirty, because if we not do it as the full team, the bike wouldn't be done.
Barang-barang yang belum pernah kita pakai juga sebelumnya di motor lain gitu. Gue rasa itu menimbulkan apa ya, konflik yang berbeda atau masalah yang berbeda sih, yang kita dipaksa juga untuk cari cara untuk menyelesaikannya.
Naik turun, cuman beruntungnya gue bisa ada di lingkungan yang cukup kondusif dan suportif untuk tetap di jalan yang kita percaya.
And then after we made the 2-on-2 stainless steel exhaust, that it's really sounds beautiful.
Come from the exhaust or the basic engine, the sound of the rawness, but it's indescribable feeling when you ride this beast.
Even though he's really shy and then he's not talk too much like the others, but he's like the best to do something more dangerous. Indra have the more guts.
Ya pasti hal-hal yang bokap gue larang atau yang bokap gue ragu, selalu gue pengen buktiin di track. Bikin sesuatu yang bangga juga buat mereka.
Dari awal gue dokumentasiin apa yang mereka lakuin. Akhirnya gue bisa ngejelasin ke keluarga gue, keluarga Barata, keluarga Indra, bahwa apa yang kita lakuin itu rupanya bisa diapresiasi sama orang lain.
Keluarga ya segalanya sih, karena ya susah banget untuk ngejalanin sesuatu kalau ada support dari orang-orang terdekat sih.
This is like a family you trust the most.
So gue rasa semua waktu yang sudah dilewatin bersama selama ini membuat kita dekat dan semakin dekat seperti sebuah keluarga.